Welcome to Real 45 with Stefan and Greg Hancock. We vibe out and have real talk, so tune in and check this out. Yeah, today is a new day. Let's seize it now and get hype. We talking about our careers, our family, and just life. Yeah, share my story with you. Inspiration like every day. Real 45, we gon' keep it live. I keep episodes on replay. Hey, Real 45. Yeah, Real 45. Show them how we do it, man. Yeah.
Real 45, here we are. Episode number 7. Time is flying, man. I'm pretty stoked. I'm in a really good place today. By myself. Stefan couldn't be here because he's busy doing normal guy stuff. Probably making real money where I'm sitting here just talking and wasting our money. But that's okay. That's what I'm supposed to do. I'm the guy. But I'm really excited because I'm sitting here with another great, I can call him a friend. And hopefully he'll call me a friend, but we'll find out soon enough. And
see you after.
Yeah, we'll see after. But a guy who I've idolized for many years. He's a big name in the Speedway world, a former world champion himself, and one of the main reasons that first brought me to Sweden too. I can honestly say that. Well, maybe I had a recommendation by this man, but here we are. I'm sitting with Per Jonsson, Swedish stud.
Hello, it's nice to be here. It's nice to see you.
Hey man, I'm glad to have you here. This is like massive for me. And
well, it's like you say, an idol. I mean, like we've been talking before about all the races we've done together, and I remember when we were down in Lonigo, the world final, the world pairs there, and you came out as a reserve, and you beat all the rest of us there. You were reserve, and you're coming in there, and you beat me in my race. I had a terrific meeting that night, and I got beaten by Amando and you. And I mean, it was a big night, and I mean, you made that gold that night.
That was like we said, that was a big night for me. I mean, my first world championship attempt, I went there as a reserve. I was already honored to have the opportunity to be there as a reserve, and when Ronnie Corey opted to step aside and they wanted me to take over because he just didn't feel like it was working for him that night. And I remember going, really? And Sam Ermolenko, being the stud that he was, especially during that period, was in his prime. And we could choose the gate positions. So you could have, if we had gates 2 and 4, you could decide who was going inside and who was going outside. And Sam gave me the inside gates all the time, which, especially gate 1 in Lonigo, even to the day, I think is still the most dominant one. And he kept giving me gate 1.
Yeah, but that's just prove what guy he is, Sam. I mean, when a junior comes in like that, or not junior, but I mean the first time and everything, and give you the opportunity. I remember when I was 16, I started to ride 500, and I was teamed up with Anders Mischanek, and I was on the outside all the time, and I mean it was hard to get away from the start. And I asked Anders if he could let me stand on the inside sometimes, and he looked at me and just said, "Hey, when you get as good as me, then you can choose to get." That's just typical Anders.
See, that's the real life of a Viking.
You have to learn the hard way.
The difference of you Vikings versus us American guys that are just like, yeah, bro, no problem, you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we go pretty far back.
Yeah, I remember when you came to England though. I was you came in 89 or 88.
89.
But then you hurt yourself. You broke your arm or something, or you were...
That was in 1990, the following year, because I came like halfway through the year in 89.
Right, yeah.
And you got a good memory. Yeah, 1990, I was in my second season, and things were going much better than they did the first year.
Yeah. And
then I crashed in the U.S. in our qualifying round at Long Beach and broke my arm, and I missed like 2.5, 3 months of racing.
Yeah. But I can't remember, did you and Billy came at the same time, or did...
I came a year before Billy.
You came a year before him, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They Cradley Heath had the choice. They were choosing between me and Billy because we did like a test run in 1988. Okay. We came over at the end of the season and stayed with Eric Gunderson, and they did like a kind of a test there and to see... They were checking to see which one of us they wanted to take the following year. Okay. And I remember they gave... when it came down to choose in May of the following year, they called Billy first,
right.
and Billy turned it down. So
Did he?
I was second best. Thanks, Colin Pratt.
That's Colin for you.
But I just remember when they called me, I was like, I'm going. I'm out of here. I don't care. This is what I want to do, even if I struggle.
Yeah.
And Bobby Schwartz kept telling me, don't worry, man. California's not going anywhere. It's always going to be here, so you can always come home. And little did I know, he was telling me that to like give me, the confidence
boost,
to like, you know what? Don't worry about it. Home's always going to be here. Go for it.
Oh, that's the cool stuff about it. It's when you have guys around you like that, it's important. I mean, it's Jan Andersson who gave me the chance to come to England. Though. I mean, first year of 500, I went to the big Swedish final, not the junior, but the Swedish final, and I remember I beat Jan in that race, and I finished split 4th place in the big final. And after the meeting, Jan came up to me and says, when you're 18, when you had to be 18 to get over to do racing in England or international then. Mm-hmm. He said, when you're ready, just give me a call and I'll see if I can hook you up with some place in England. And he hooked me up at Reading, so I'm really grateful for that. So it's good to have someone to look up to, and I mean, Jan made my career in England.
Well, you know how they always say too, you surround yourself with good people or the right people, and that sure can help to go in that way. So whether he showed you the light, you still gave him the opportunity as well.
I wasn't making that much money though. I had £5 to start, £15 a point, and I had that for 2 years. So it was not much money to earn, but you have to score some points to get some money.
Man, see, this is all the stuff. Let these guys hear that today, right?
Yeah. Well, I started in Sweden. When I started, I had 25 crowns a point and 25 crowns a heat. So
you were killing it.
Yeah. 250 crowns after the meeting. I was well on the way.
Dang, I must have been. So when I came in '89, I think I was on £20 a point. So I was making the big cash by then. I didn't have any start money, but I had that £20 a point.
Yeah.
The difference was I didn't score any points, so it didn't matter.
Well, the same with me. I mean, I didn't care about the money. I was just wanting to ride a bike, so I didn't care what they said. Just sign the contract. Yeah, I signed the contract.
I'm out of here. I just want to get out of here.
Yeah. I just want to ride a bike.
When you look back at it like that was '89, and then '90, and in 1992, even before that, when you won your world title.
Yeah.
I remember Billy Hamel and I were standing we were in the first corner at Bradford that year.
Yeah.
And we were just watching it. We were stoked because there we were, like, I had seen the world final in 1985 at Bradford.
Yeah.
I was over as a kid just watching and staying with John Cook at that time and Bobby Schwartz kind of moving around. But here I was at my second world final to watch, standing in the first corner. And of course we were rooting for Sean Moran because we wanted the American guy. Yeah. But you were the guy that Billy and I were both talking about, like, Per Jonsson's the dude who's, like, this is no lie, we were both standing there. That's the guy who could, we think he's the dude that could really win this, but we really want Sean Moran to win, you know? So watching that from that point and seeing, that was a pretty good day of racing.
Oh, it's a beautiful track as well. I mean, to stand and watch it as well, it's like a pit. I mean, it goes down like that. You can see the racing, and I just love that track with the banking and everything. And it was
such a cool racetrack.
Definitely is.
You and I were talking before. This is part of the inspiration for this podcast too. But you and I were talking earlier and discussing, in your career, growing up, and we're trying to learn the right ways. And when we're young, we're pretty hot-headed, and you say what you think, and sometimes you don't. You just keep it all to yourself. But listening to a couple of things that you said, I think people should hear. Because we're all so different as competitors, or just in life in general, going to work. You're always looking for a way to have a good day or be better at your job or whatever you do, you know. But listening to what you just said, and you were telling me the story about your 1988 World Championship. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's... then it was just a final. Now it's like a Grand Prix and that, but then it's just a final, and you do all the qualifying up to the World Final. It's a big way to go. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to. You can't make any mistakes to get to the final. But
You got one day, huh?
Yeah, so a month before, you know you're in the final, and then you know who you're going to ride against and everything. And for me, like when you come to final like that, you knew every race who you had and which gate you had, and I just went through my head. I did it like 100, 200 times every race, and I won every race. And I was just how to do it in different ways. If I miss the start, I do that, and if I do that, and whatever is second lap. So I did the race so many times, and I got excluded in my first race. And I mean, when you've been working so hard and you build up so much inside you, you're like an atomic bomb, like inside, because you want to. When you get on the track, you need to put everything there. And I got excluded in my first race, and everything just exploded when I came into the pits, when I knew I was excluded, and I had no chance winning the world final when you get excluded in the first race.
Anti-climax, huh?
Yeah, so it was, I mean, after that I should just jumped in the van and gone home, but I kept going, but I couldn't sort of get myself to work properly during that race, and I learned a lot from that. So I mean, for me, I started to try to find ways how to do all that stuff. And in '89 I met Eva Rush. She's a psychologist in athletics and stuff like that, so I got in contact with her, and then I started to talk about all this stuff, and we did quite a lot together, and she gave me tapes and stuff to listen to, how to relax and everything. I mean, sometimes it's always been hocus pocus for me. I mean, when you listen, say people saying stuff like that.
You've heard so many people talk about this.
Yeah, they do, and no one's going to get into my head and mess it up, and I'm strong enough. But after '88, I tried to learn something from it, and I started to listen to these tapes and how to relax and trying to find a safe spot in my life where I felt really safe and relaxed and everything. And I started to do that, and did that for about half a year before this, when I made it through the world final. And I just went through everything, and what I did wrong in '88 was that I won every race, and now I had to sort of make sure that if I miss a race, if I get second or third, I can still get going. And to learn all that and to find a place, it's difficult to explain, like this, but it's a big process to do. But it helped me a lot during my life, everything. It's not just in sports, in life generally.
Yeah, everything. So you took, in what you were doing in 1988, was what we would refer to as visualizing the race before it happened. I mean, you took that to another level, because you were visualizing days and days and days and days before.
Yeah.
Which maybe that's what you're supposed to do, but it's quite interesting how you won all your races, but then somebody threw in a speed bump there.
Yeah.
And you tested yourself, and it went all out. But after meeting Eva Rush.
Yeah.
And learning this new technique.
Yeah, it's a special thing. I think most of the riders, I mean, it's like go to Ingmar Stenmark, the slalom.
Right.
I've been watching a lot of stuff about documentary about him and everything, and he was like a psychologist on his own. He learned all that stuff himself. That today, when you look back at it, and then you can see that shit, he's been doing that, what we do now, 15 years later, he did that all on his own. So you learn a lot of stuff from that. And after that, when I learned all that stuff, Eva got in contact with me. She was working with the school with kids from 3rd grade up to 9th grade, and we worked together and with the kids and stuff, and how to learn to relax, because it's such a pressure on kids today, schoolwork and everything going around. So we did this process with the kids, to sit down and drawing some pictures about, a safe place and where you felt as happy as you ever can be and all that stuff. And it was a bit struggle in the beginning, but we got them to come down and to find somebody they were talking to each other and everything. And then when they did that, Eva started to talk really slow about everything, and she got him to fall asleep on the floor, and all of us we sat there, me and Eva. They were sleeping like for 45 minutes. After that, we started to talk to them again about everything, and I mean they calmed down, and that helped a lot. I mean it's the same with everything. It's you have to find. So today everyone is running into the wall. I mean they have hard works. They work so much, and maybe sometimes to get to that place where you can go down and pick up some more power to be able to do a lot of stuff, and it comes into normal working days or racing or whatever. So it's really interesting, and it's working really good.
There's so many good tools there.
Yeah.
You can imagine what people go through in your racing world or whatever, but listening to all that and what you have to do, where you have to dig so deep, can help in so many ways, no matter what position you're in. But like you said, sometimes you have to go down so far to find the way back up. But if you can take yourself there and manage to bring yourself back up from a big rut and go on and pull off a crazy victory or just to complete something that you've been working hard at, it's
It helped me a lot during my career after that, and I mean we raced quite a lot. I mean since 90 when England, I mean we did about 65 meetings just in England when you had all the knockout cups and everything, so it's quite big with all the qualifying and Swedish League and all that. So I did about over 100 meetings, I mean, in that time. And when you learn how to relax in between trying to find that space, it helped you. And then obviously you need to train a lot as well to keep fit and that. So I mean that everything like that you have to put together and doing all that to be able to be at the level and to be as consistent as you are.
When you're doing, if we go back to that stage, was that when Sweden was kicking off the Swedish League? Were you always riding Swedish League when you went to England too, so you had to fly back every week?
Not the first year, 84. Svimo had an agreement with the BSPA that the first year you came over, you didn't have to ride in Swedish League. So
okay.
So I had that year off. So that was really good. So you could concentrate just on England.
So back then, I'm curious about this too, because we've probably talked about it over the years, but I can't remember it all. But 85 then, that would have been your second year.
Yeah.
So were you going to Sweden then?
Yeah. We had to go back and ride the Swedish League.
How many times would that, or how many teams were in the league then? Roughly.
About 10 or 12.
That many teams back then? 12,
I think. 10
so
12.
That meant you were going back like 20 odd times.
Yeah. And then for the qualifying stuff as well. So when we did that, so I flew quite a lot over.
That was
but it's more. Yeah. Do you know what a plane ticket cost then? It cost £225 to fly back and forward. But we had a deal. Svimo had a deal with BSPA that the promoter had to pay for the flight, so we could afford to go back and forth, because I couldn't afford to buy a plane ticket going back and forward. So
the promoter had to pay for your flight every time you went back?
For the Swedish League, yeah.
For the Swedish League, all 20 plus times.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So otherwise, I mean, you couldn't afford to do it, otherwise I didn't make that much money.
No, yeah, when you start to calculate all that stuff. Right? When did you start riding in Poland then?
Well, the Polish League didn't open for the foreigners proper until 91.
So that was when it officially opened.
Yeah,
I remember Hans Nielsen was quite big, and then you started there.
Yeah.
Were you in touring right away?
Yeah, I went. I've always been.
You were touring the whole time.
Team.
Yeah. That's right. He's pretty much a touring guy through and through.
Yeah.
You're one of the few guys that's got a stadium street named after you.
I still can't believe it, though. But I mean, I always. I mean, you do it as well. I mean, there's certain guys that gives back a lot. I mean, if I had time over, I helped out with the juniors, or even my teammates, if I had a day after that I didn't ride, I stayed and I helped out training and doing all that. I never charge any money or anything for anything, so I just did it to help out. That's how I was. So it's always been like that. So if I can help, I do it.
Do what you can.
Yeah.
So you did you did Sweden and England basically then after 85, 86, 87, 88, and obviously World Championships too.
Yeah.
How many individual World Championships did you ride in?
87, 88, 90, 91, 92, 93.
89 you didn't make it?
No. It was that year when they started to mix about with the mufflers, the silencers.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, you had the pleasure of riding during those periods.
That was a big mess. I mean, Toba made a silencer, and we used it. It was, the one that was, but the Danes and everyone, they made their own, and so, the bikes didn't work. It was like a suitcase in the back there, and it was horrible. There was no power, nothing in the bikes, and so I missed the world final in 89.
That was Munich, right? 89?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tony also made it from the Nordic final in Finland. So it was...
was Jimmy Nilsson in that one too?
Yeah, he didn't make it either.
He didn't either.
No. It was a big mess there. I remember in Finland when we were doing the examination on the bikes and everything, it was a big mess. They had to call the FIM blokes and everything because everyone had, all the Danes and I had all the mufflers, like different ones, and so it was a big thing.
Pretty nuts. So, and then I remember guys putting like wire brushes and stuff in the mufflers, trying to get them to pass certain tests, and then it was getting, everyone got pretty creative. Right?
It was everything. I mean, the bikes were too light. You put some chains under the seat, you had to put some stuff everywhere and weigh it, and then to get in there. But it's a lot of stuff happening.
Well, crazy times.
Yeah, definitely.
And then winning the title in 1990 was, that's obviously a highlight, right?
Yeah, it was I had that goal all the way since I was a kid. I wanted to be a world champion. I had my uncle Torleif Hansen in Motocross. He was second in the world, and I wanted to be better than him. I wanted to win the world championship. So,
and Torleif being a huge iconic name in the motocross world. I wonder how many people around the world know that that's your uncle. Pretty cool.
Yeah. I remember the first phone I could get hold of, I phoned him straight away.
Did you really?
Yeah. I got after the meeting, went to the hotel with Patton, my promoter, and then they stayed at the place. I had to stay there, and so I went up to the hotel room and I got hold of the phone. And I phoned him. It was like 2:00 in the morning, and he answered, "Hello," and I said, "Yeah, you're number second. I'm number one."
Yeah.
It was the first person I had in my mind when I won it.
I'm in the top of the family now, buddy.
Because he called. I started off riding motocross, and when Dad bought a Speedway frame, we put the motocross engine in that frame because it fitted and everything. And he called me I was so weak I couldn't ride motocross anymore. Blah, blah.
So
really. Tough guys don't ride speedway, they ride motocross and blah blah and everything. So
you guys just go around in circles.
Yeah, just go around circles and that. So he's the first bloke I called. It was him.
I hope you continue to remind him of that.
He does. Yeah, I mean, he said, "I'd take my hat off." He said, "You're number one now in the family." So that's good. He knows his place. Now he's good. He says all the time, he says, "Yeah, I'll take your hat off for you." It's amazing. So it's good.
I remember it was your dad that jumped on the track and laid on the track, was kissing the track too.
Yeah,
I'll never forget that. I can still picture it like it was yesterday, those early years. It was just, that's when the emotions, because we were happy then that Sean Rand was second that day. And we were super stoked how it all turned out. But just the emotions of the whole deal, like we're standing there, Billy and I looking at each other just going, rad. we so want to do this. That was like the most inspiring, like, we already had Speedway was the big carrot, you know, and now we're standing at Bradford at that full stadium and watching you guys go toe to toe.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I was riding motocross all the time, and then my dad, he's born on Gotland, and it's an old tradition. I mean, Speedway, Gallberget on Gotland, and he grew up watching Speedway and everything, so he wanted me to ride Speedway, but it was difficult to ride. 50 Speedway, small Speedway wasn't available at that time when I started, so it was a different thing. So when they started off here in Sweden, they bought the Speedway frame, just a 50cc one, and put the engine in from the motocross bike, and I tried it, and I mean, 4 guys going into the corner, what was that? Normally your third toe was going in there, it was nothing, so I wasn't afraid to put a few arm bows up there, and there was...
So those motocross guys were right. Speedway's easy. I mean, what is that?
No, but I'll tell you what, to ride a Speedway bike, I mean, I have so many friends that ride motocross and everything, and I love motocross more than anything. I watch it every time, even, I mean, Tom and Dennis, my sons, I mean, they're into Speedway and that, but I download everything on motocross, supercross, whatever, and I watch it. And they're a bit bored. Now, can't you put some Speedway on? Now, this is more cool. Like, I want to watch it. So it's motocross has always been a big thing for me. Like, so it's been in my life since I started. So I enjoyed it. But to ride a Speedway bike, you can buy all the gears and whatever. I mean, a motocross bike, you can buy all the right gear, and you can look really tough out there, and I mean, you can jump a few jumps and you look okay, but put a bloke on a Speedway bike is nothing. I mean, you can take anyone like that rides motocross or anything, put them on a Speedway bike, they can't even slide. I mean, it's difficult, but to have that feeling riding a Speedway bike, I mean, it's thin frames and everything, you can feel everything, and you look at it like everyone comes up and look at a Speedway bike, oh fuck, this is just like a bicycle. But when you're out there on the track, when you ride it, and when you hit that dirt line, and you let the bike just run in it, and you let the bike go, but you can control it. I mean, it's like a roller coaster. The feeling that you have when you ride a Speedway bike is unbelievable. Yeah, it is, definitely.
It's funny what you said about the weak frame or whatever, and when I tell people about a Speedway bike, I said, it's like riding a piece of spaghetti.
Yeah, it is.
And really, it's not, you want to ride that piece of spaghetti before you cook it, so it's nice and stiff. But so the only way to ride it is you have to gas it, right?
Yeah.
And you have to make the whole bike. I use the Swedish word spin.
Yeah.
And the thing has to be like stiff. So you have to kind of make everything go flex to the maximum point where it can't flex anymore. And that's what makes it most steady to ride. And that's where you have your arms straight. And then you're just with the throttle and controlling the edge of the flex point of just keeping it on the edge of the dirt line.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, even like a Speedway frame, like I said, is quite flexible. I mean, it moves quite a lot. But I remember Jan, when I came over to England, he cut his frame, the back half, under the seat. He took a hacksaw and he cut it so it was even more flexible.
I remember you telling me this.
Yeah, in places. And I remember I went up to Coventry and we did a league meeting. And I went out and made a few practice starts, and I jumped off the start and I could hardly slide the bike. It was just going like it was on rails. And I was like half a straight in front of Tommy Knudsen and everyone. He was going so quick. Coming in, and Brian looking at the bike and says, shit, it's broken, just behind the footrest, where it normally breaks.
Yeah, exactly.
Behind there. And then he says, and that's why it was so flexible when I came into court. So we left it. I rode as much as I could on it until it broke. It was so nice. It was difficult to ride, but he hooked up everywhere. All the dirt I hit, it was just going on rails around the corners. I had 15 points that night. It was unbelievable.
And another thing that makes Speedway so odd, right?
Yeah.
So everything can be broke and it works awesome. What's up with that?
And then you go like 100 kilometers like into the corners with broken frames and stuff. No, it's a feeling that you can't describe. You have to be able to do it.
It really, I mean, that's still the thing that gives me the
buzz.
yeah. I mean, you know, you got that feeling. It like
Yeah.
it sits in your bloodstream or in your spine or however you want to put it. It's just every year at the end of the season, when the season finishes and you put the bikes away for a couple of months, right?
Yeah.
And then it comes to end of December or early January, and you get on the bike again, and you think, go into the first corner, and you think, I hope I didn't forget.
Yeah.
You kind of lean it over and just take that little easy slide just to kind of see where you are. And
Do you remember the first time you come up in the spring? I mean, now you're in the state, you go over, you can ride a bit, but here, when you don't ride anything, and you get on the bike, you're like a beginning of the first couple of days and thinking, oh shit, I can't slide. And you know how the tracks are in England at the beginning of the year.
yeah,
With the clay and everything, you can't hardly turn coming into the corners. And your ass, shit, when you start, and you can't walk for a couple of days.
that's right. Doing a few starts and it's ramming
You
you, the
got
seats
that
ramming you in the back of
skid
the...
marks
Yeah.
on your underpants.
Say no more, those are the deepest, darkest secrets
Yeah.
coming out right there. You got skid marks from your seat?
Oh, it's like you're a virgin at the beginning of the year.
The funny thing is, I remember coming back to England too, and I'd been practicing a couple of times in the States, but
Yeah.
people would come out on the press and practice day and haven't sat on the bike. And they'd go out on the press and practice day, make a few starts and a couple of laps,
Yeah.
and then we'd have the first meeting the next
Yeah.
day. You're going
Everyone
like,
asking,
what?
are you training, are you practicing or anything? No. The first, sometimes, well, I remember one winter, just came over to England, didn't have any practice or anything, just straight on the bike out in the first race. I mean, today,
No downtime.
you can practice, you can do, everyone's doing testing and everything. It wasn't, there were no tracks that you could do it on that time. You weren't allowed to be on the tracks, especially when you came to England because of the dogs.
That's right.
They wouldn't
yeah.
let you out on the tracks because you have to cover the dog tracks on the outside.
Yeah, it wasn't that easy.
Yeah.
And the
so-
weather.
Yeah, and the
You never
weather.
know what the
yeah.
weather was going to throw at you.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, Jan told me, like I said, when I came over, I said, I can't even slide the bike coming into the corner. It's good, Jan said, it's good. Train as much as you can because it's going to be like this all in the beginning of the year. So if you train, the more you train on it, you have to be bad when you practice. Everything has to be bad. It's not supposed to feel nice and everything. It is, because when you come to a meeting, often the tracks are prepared really good and everything, so it's much easier.
Yeah, if you go with that.
So train on rutty tracks or hard, with holes and everything. Just go out. I remember I went to 88, I rode in Gotland for Bysarna.
Uh-huh.
And
By Sarna?
yeah, Bysarna. Bysarna.
By Sarna?
We were out and I stayed there as well, and we were practicing, and I said to the boys, there were some ruts. I said, leave it. And then every time you have to hit it when you're coming out of the corners to learn how to handle it. Because that's the way you should do. When you practice, you should do it in a bad way.
Really, because if you learn on something that's really smooth and easy to ride,
Yeah, it's easy for everyone else. So it's, they learned quite a lot. And some of them fell off the bikes, and everyone was not too happy about it. But that year we won the Swedish final in teams. I won the Swedish final. Me and Tony Olsson had the Swedish pairs, and the 50cc won the Swedish as well. So we made a Grand Slam there down in Gotland. So it's good. It's a really good year.
was Torbjörn Harrison involved back then?
No, not down there. He was still in Göttingen then.
So he was still been racing.
Because I was supposed to go to Gotland in '87, but they put me on long carens. What do you call it? Svimo can put someone on if they not agree. The clubs don't agree. I have to wait another year.
Oh,
So
okay.
I had to wait because Kim didn't sign the papers from Göttingen, so I rode there in '88, and then I went back to Göttingen while it was Stockholm United in '89.
That was when okay, I've heard so much talk about that.
Yeah.
When you mentioned Gotland, and I always think of Torbjörn Harrison when we talk about Gotland. So
Well,
just yeah.
Yeah, or left Gotland then.
Yeah, he had already left the island. That's pretty cool. Now, you grew up in Upplands Väsby, where
Yeah.
you still live now, right? So
Yeah.
you're here. But another thing, obviously, your history and listening to your childhood and your father, and we're all brought up in a different way.
Yeah.
And we all like to share stories here and there. And I don't know how much you want to share about your upbringing, but I found, when we talk and you tell me stories, I'm always curious about how I was brought up, how my dad was, and other people, how their fathers or brothers and sisters, and who has to support who. So it's always fun to hear the difference. But
Yeah.
I mean, your dad was quite influential in so many ways.
Yeah.
Yet it was, you also had the difficult times as well, as we all do, but in different ways.
Yeah.
So how much can you tell us about how you grew up? And
Well, my dad he always been, I mean, he, like I said before, he was from Gotland. He's been watching Speedway since he was a kid. They went to Gallberget on Gotland, and he wanted me to ride Speedway. But you couldn't ride Speedway. There was no tracks or anything for small bikes then. So he had a motocross bike, and he sold that one and bought one of them Italy Jet, so they call it. And he traded from his motorbike, and so that's how I started to ride. I was 3 years old when I got it, and he wanted to ride, and he wasn't good enough, he felt, so he rode through me. But it's not like he was there telling me off or what to do or whatever, but I loved riding. And
did he do any other sports or anything like that? Or, I mean, did you do any other ice hockey or...
no,
I mean, I seem to ask a lot of the guys this because I'm curious,
Yeah.
Sweden's such a hockey-related country, and skiing and all sorts of stuff. But
first time I tried something else, it was, I think, I can't remember how old I was, 6, 7 or something. All the kids and everyone, they were playing football and that. And it was like a big thing in the summer. You could be Manchester United, Arsenal, or different. It was like a small league or something. They had like a tournament for a week. And my mom asked me if I wanted to do it. And, so they bought me a pair of football shoes. And then I said, nah, well, I can stand in the goal. I can be a goalkeeper. And I stood there. So I did one match. That's all I did. And then nothing else has been. I mean, I'm interested now, or when I was riding and everything, I was interested in most of the stuff, but just for training, cross-country skiing and stuff like that. So but I never been doing anything else than riding a motorbike. That's been my life. So it's been, I mean, a couple of friends of mine, I've been friends with, Roland and his brother. Their dad was a good friend with my dad since they were kids as well. So they build bikes as well. They did out of go-kart wheels, and they build the bikes with moped engines and stuff inside it. And so we've been riding a lot, like different things. And I remember trying to get hold of a proper bike for a kid, like it was difficult. So I remember one year Dad got hold of someone, MC Trim in Stockholm. He was selling motorbikes like Harley Davidson and different stuff. So he went in, so he bought a Harley Davidson, like a mini bike, and that was too small because I wasn't that old. I was like 8 or 9, so it was quite small. So I rode that one on the motocross track. I jumping with that Harley. So it was, after that, I mean, I think I was 10 when he bought a Cradler, like a 50cc, and we had to cut the seats and everything to make it low so I could jump on. It was like a 125, like as big as them, so it's difficult to get up on it. So when I fell over, I couldn't lean it up or anything. I was far away on the motocross track, and I was just screaming, "Can you help me?" Like everyone, they had to run down and help me. I lifted up the bike so I could keep going.
So this is what made your speedway career what it was. You got to practice on the worst case scenario conditions to be a good rider. So
Definitely,
you started young. You learned the hard way.
Yeah, It's been tough, but I mean, most of the people around know my dad when I was a kid. I mean, he wasn't the best person to be around. You know, sometimes when he was, but he was always there to help me out, and we were practicing Tuesdays and Thursdays, and he was always there. We were practicing, competing in the weekends, like all over Sweden. We drove and
put in a few miles or
yeah,
kilometers.
well, definitely. So it was. I remember one year I was, I think probably around 11, and I was up race. We were going up on a Tuesday and we were practicing, and I went out. Nothing felt good. I mean, it was dusty, it was dry, and everything. It was horrible. Coming in, like those days, it was about 100 people like practicing every Tuesday, Wednesday, or whatever up there, and I came in. I was like, "Oh, this shit doesn't work." Blah blah blah. I was going on, and Dad didn't say anything. He just picked up the bike and threw it in the back of the van and left. And I stood there like my tears was just going down. Like all the people was looking at me and what's happening there. Like so,
He like left you.
he left
like,
me standing there with my helmet. I stood as I came in. Like,
and he hit the road.
He just hit the road. Like 45 minutes. My mom found out that I was up there, so she came up and picked me up.
Oh, brutal.
So it was.
Maybe I shouldn't laugh, but
No, but after that I didn't complain. I knew if I say do that again, I won't be able to ride a bike. So I did everything.
I'm not going to do that again.
Never. So it's tough school, but I mean, I did everything I could to be able to be on a bike.
To ride your bike.
Yeah, 2 years. I mean, when I was 4 or 5 or something, we went down to Gotland to a summer house. We were staying there, and this neighbor had a moped, and I mean, I've been riding on the bike, you know, my small bike, and I asked him if I could ride it. He said, "No, you're too small." I said, No, I got a bike, so I can ride. I said, "Yeah, if you take a snuff," he said. "If you take a snuff, you can ride my bike, my moped," he said. Snuff. So I jumped on the bike, the moped, and I was driving it, and all of a sudden everything started to spin, just spinning and spinning, and I was puking and puking and puking. And then like, oh shit, I have to come home. I have to go home to Mom and Dad. Wonder what they're gonna say, like coming home, and I was just puking. I went straight to bed.
What are you gonna tell him?
And then Dad just screamed from the other room. Ask him what he's done. Has he been smoking and snuffing or what? What's he been doing? So I came out straight away. Like he understand, because I've been out with this other bloke, and he was like 14, 15. I was just 4 or 5. Like it was.
Speak some experience.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, there's some stories.
But yeah, the life experiences that shape us into the people we are today, right? So
yeah.
It makes us better or worse as adults and as parents, but
well, we gone the hard school.
Yeah.
To learn it the hard way.
And then if we jump forward now a little bit, and then looking 1992 is when I started riding in Sweden.
Yeah.
And I was invited to ride in Göttingen, where you and Jimmy Nilsson were.
Yeah.
And as I understand it, and I'm still going to go with it, whether you disagree with me or not, but I tell everybody it was Per and Jimmy that said I had to be in the team. So just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, it's right. It's right though, because when we were building the team, I spoke to Kim and Kickan and them about you, and I said. And they were talking about Billy as well, because they were going back and forth. I said, no.
And Billy was already in Sweden then too, right?
Yeah, because they were going to build a team for that year. And I said, we go with Greg, because he's talented. I mean, you two were the most upcoming then. So I remember Gary Higgs came as well.
Yeah,
one year. He was over.
That's even the year before me, maybe.
The year before, 91, yeah.
Yeah.
He was there.
Because did he ride for that team too?
He
was
rode
that Stockholm?
Yeah, he rode there.
Wow.
So,
That was, and then I came, was it both Screeny and I that year? Joe Screen? Did he come the first
No,
year? Or
no,
was he
no.
the next? He came
No,
in maybe the
Screen
next year. He
did,
came
yeah.
or something. I remember he and I rode together. But being there that first year, you know, for me, I went from riding just in England to in
To do 2 leagues,
1992. I actually jumped into 3 leagues. I did Poland
you
and
went
Sweden
Poland,
that
yeah.
year. That's why I was curious. And when you started Poland to think about
Yeah.
how this all added up, and then you're talking about the traveling and stuff,
Yeah.
and suddenly going from just riding for Cradley Heath to riding for Cradley Heath, Jättingarden in Sweden, and then Leszno in Poland,
Yeah.
and you know, I had 2 bikes to begin with, and suddenly you needed to have another bike for Sweden, just
Yeah.
one chassis, and then one chassis in Poland, and then I just remember taking engines and carburetors and clutches and your gear bag with you everywhere. That's all you could afford to do
Yeah.
because I couldn't afford to buy too much more gear at that time. And diving into this whole new world and how rad Sweden was
Yeah.
at that time. I got to, you and Jimmy, I really hadn't got to know yet,
No.
really very much. And I remember like, you guys were so serious. I remember thinking, Per Jonsson, I never saw him smile, you know? He just seems like such a serious guy.
Yeah, I had that fucking stamp on me. I mean, I when I did everything, whatever it was. I mean, I remember when I signed off for Toron in '91. I said if a lot of people left bikes or frame or something down there, and I said if I'm going to ride it, I'm going to have 2 bikes every time, and it meant more traveling for me or my mechanics because sometimes I you drove down with them if you had the time.
Sure.
Or if I was riding England, I had to fly in or drive back with them or whatever. So I always had to be prepared for whatever I did. I couldn't go there. I mean, to a meeting not being prepared. So it's tough though. But it's to be able to have all that stuff. I mean, now you're talking about '92. I started to be, coming up in my game and everything. It was not when I started. When I went over to England, I just had 1 bike, and I didn't have anything in Sweden. So when I went back for qualifying, I had to borrow a frame, and I had to carry the engine with me that I had in England on the plane. Everyone was having the engine with you in the cabin in the plane and everything.
I've heard stories
Yeah,
about
looking like it was weighing nothing, like 35 kilos on your shoulder. Yeah, lifted on the thing there going to. They look, what's that?
My
And it
toilet
comes
bag.
out and they open it. What's that? Oh, it's an engine. Oh, it's heavy. No. So you lift it up like that. It was like you said. We had just the same. Didn't have so much stuff when we were traveling back and forth. You had to bring all the stuff and
everything.
I mean, now these days you can get suits and stuff prepared for you, but before it was leather and everything. It took time to get a set of leathers.
Yeah.
So you had a set that you had all the year in every country you rode. You had to clean it. You have to do everything. I remember going.
And they were
back,
actually leathers back
yeah,
then too.
there was
Yeah.
proper stuff. Like
Yeah.
so, it's coming back from like if I rode at Manchester, rode in England I rode Mondays every time and Sweden Tuesdays. So coming back from Manchester at night, you had to clean off the bike, take the engine out, and then you were finished about 3 o'clock in the morning. 5 o'clock you had to go to the airport, coming home, putting the engine in when I got back here to Sweden, and then get it prepared, load it up, going down to Vetlanda and do the meeting there, going back, take the engine out. You did that on your own. I mean, now these days you have mechanics and everything.
Yeah.
I had my friend Palle, he helped me out, doing as much as he could. So it's a big thing, how you did it then.
You can't compare it today to then, and people sometimes when you tell the stories, even some of the young guys that come over from the States and you tell them what you did and they look at you like, that's like your parents telling you, I used to walk backwards to school uphill both ways in the snow and the wind. Like they look at you like that, like you didn't do it like that. Like, man, you know what? I don't even want to begin to tell you the blood, sweat, and tears, and the engine's smoking hot right after the race, and you got to pull it out of the engine and put it in the bag, and then take the bag with you back to the airport, and and that's you were doing it even more than I was at that stage.
But it's a learning process, and if you're keen enough to get through all that, I mean, it's the reward is on the other side. So it's
huge, huh?
Yeah.
Saying all that, I like how quickly my whole opinion changed of you and Jimmy Nielsen. So it's a classic case of don't judge a book by the cover.
No.
Because as soon as I remember after the first trip of traveling with you guys, I was like, oh my gosh, these guys are rad. They are so cool. How could I ever think that? I never just had a chance to sit and just rap with them. And here they were basically talking to me like I'm one of them. And I was just...
Yeah, but it's like you said, I mean, I wasn't that popular. I mean, when I was riding, everyone was like, you know, people like Henka or whatever, everyone so relaxed during the meeting and everything. When I went, I wanted to do as good as I could when I was on the track, and that was the way I was, how to concentrate and doing all that. For me, it was serious because I want to go out and I want to win races. I can't just. Some people need to have that relaxed situation. Some can do it, some can't, and everyone thought I was. You know, I mean, I even remember Armando. I mean, he was like that serious cunt, like he was, you know, looking at me and everything. And when you start to know people, you know, you don't let in everyone while you're racing and everything, but on the side is a different thing. But when you went there, it was my job. I saw it as my job. I go there, they hired me to do a job. I wanted to do as good job as I could, all the meeting and everything. And then, I mean, it's a long season, as you know, when we were riding. Yeah. So, I mean, I never went out and partying and doing all that stuff because I knew I was riding the next day, and I took it serious all the way. And then I know I put so much, no one else did it, but I put pressure on myself because every time I did like test matches or for the Swedish team, and the pressure I put on myself. I remember even at home before I was going to meetings, if Maria started to talk about, you know, who we're racing against tonight or whatever, I had to run to the toilet straight away. I mean, everything I did, I know that if someone else doesn't score, I have to score because I was the captain and everything, and if someone did bad, I have to score the points. So in the way, I always put the pressure on me, and it was quite tough in the end. When I crashed in Poland, I remember the first thing that came up in my mind after I'd been tumbling around and I got my eyes open and I realized everything was just burning in my body. I didn't know how it was, whatever it was. I thought I broke a leg or whatever, but I just felt like, shit, this is nice. I'm going to be out for a couple of weeks or something so I can relax. Because I had so much pressure. The first thing that comes up in my head was strange that, oh, nice, it's over. Now I can relax maybe a couple of weeks or something, or a month. Because I didn't realize how bad it was when I crashed. So
that's nuts.
That's the first thing that comes up in my head.
I'm going to get a break.
Yeah, I got a break. And because it's tough to... The way I did it was that I put the pressure on myself all the time. I have to score. I have to do this. I have to all the time when I was out there. And then it's the same in England, whatever, you know, last heat in, you know, maybe heat aside or something. Pat came running over all the time, you know, when it was heat 15. She came running over and started telling them two that was going to race in that race, like, you have to win, you have to win, you have to win. I just,
no pressure.
I just said, but just go away, I know what to do. So after that, she never came up to me because I was already focused on what I'm supposed to do. So it was tough to have that. It sort of destroyed a bit of the feeling a bit in the end there, because I did have too many thoughts about, you know, maybe I should stop or whatever, because it felt I had so much inside me that was too much pressure.
You think even then, you know, I mean, we talked today about the pressures and the stresses and the strains with everything has come up. You can't just show up at the races with one chassis like we keep talking about. You have to have two bikes, you have to have one or two mechanics, you have to be fresh, you can't have this, you can't have that. So you have all that plus all the traveling in between and all the demands and it's just a different era, right? You had all that stuff then, and it depends. You don't need the pressure from outside because of the pressure you put on yourself.
No.
Is so high, and you're just explaining that perfect.
Yeah, it's tough. It's the way it was. I mean, like I said, you know how it is. Then we didn't earn that much money, so we could have paid mechanics or whatever, to do. So you did a lot of stuff yourself. So I wasn't only traveling or racing or whatever. I was cleaning the bike. I was in the van. I was doing. You did everything, and when you got some times off, I mean, it was the best feeling ever. And then to spend. I mean, I had 2 kids, and we had a family and stuff, and I didn't have that much time to. And in the end, it was. I mean, I was struggling a bit. I was still going good. I was still scoring and everything. It wasn't that, but I'm going through stuff. I mean, I had problems with my engines, and I had a lot of things going on, and trying to change everything. And it's tough, but it's.
You always find the way, huh?
Yeah, you do.
In that way. Who, during that period, who was doing engines and stuff for you most of the time?
Well, Jan, everyone knows that Jan had the quickest bikes and everything in England in the 80s, like in the beginning of the 90s as well. I mean, he always had quick stuff. And then, I mean, when I was riding in England, I was riding with him, and I asked him, "Can't you do an engine for me? Can't you do it?" He never did it. And then I changed everything because I was riding Java, and I was a factory rider for Java as well. And in '89, it didn't work as good because they wanted me to use stuff that they've been mixing about, and it wasn't working. So I cut the deal. I mean, it was the best deal you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, I had everything free. I mean, I had like a workshop. At my workshop, it's like I could end up could pick nuts, bolts, everything for the engines. I had boxes from Java and everything. I just stopped it, and I said I have to do something else. So Melavik was a big sponsor then, and they said they were going to help me to buy engines. So we bought 5 engines from GM, and that year Bosse Berlin was helping me. He was going good in that, but he wasn't the quickest stuff. And I asked Jan just a couple of months before the World Final if he could do an engine for me. So he did my engine for that year in '90. It was unbelievable. I tell you what, Jan always wanted us to swap bikes during the practice day in England. And I had my bike. I went down to MC Tjänst in Eksjö and picked up an engine from the shell, a Java engine, and put it in the bike, went over to England. And I was riding it, and Jan went out and he tested it, and said, "Oh, you can try my bike," he said. So I went on his, and I'll tell you what, when I went out on the straight, there was just half a throttle. There was another half a throttle to use it going into the corner. It was like a rocket machine. It was such a big. With mine, I went flat out, going in. With Jan's, I could, play with the throttle because there was so much power going into the corners. That's when I felt the difference. Wow. And all of a sudden, I just went on to Jan all the time. Can't you do an engine? Can't you do an engine? But it was, he started to help me out there in '90.
And he was still so active in his own racing.
Yeah. And the way he did it, no one could believe how he could get engines to work the way he did. He sat on his knee in the workshop, with small garage in Whitney, and he was playing around, and it had the head up and the screws there at the workbench, and just fighting away. And then it was quick stuff.
You look at that now. He was a rider, engine builder of his own at the same time, and still building really fast engines
and
today.
He rode good as well. That's why he could test the stuff in the proper way, because he could feel how it was working, and it's a good combination, but it couldn't work in the long run though. It's difficult to do all that. Yeah,
to be able to do all that.
Yeah.
You often hear guys that, even Thomas Golub, one of those dudes, the same thing. The amount of times that he can the feeling that he had for the bike, and he could tell it with just doing one simple little practice start, and that's no good, and go in and completely make a change, as I understand it, you know. And even Sam Malenko, another one, they have a hard time leaving things alone, even when they're fast as can be. They always know that they can be a little bit faster, right? And it's impressive, but it must be so hard. So hard to kind of delegate which way you want to go and be successful, but you know, some of these guys are so clever, and they've got the beauty of knowing how to ride the bike, so they can still put that across into the engine. When you speak to someone like Jan, for instance, and even Peter Johns and some of the other guys, but at least you can, when you tell them what you're doing and you're kind of explaining what it is, you can see that their mannerisms in their body, they know exactly what you're talking about, and they can read it, and they can basically translate that into the engine and get something for you.
It's difficult. I mean, these days or whatever, I mean, some of the boys, they can ride a bike really good, you can see, but if you ask them how was it? Oh, it was good, it was fast. But how did it run? How did it work? It's difficult for a tuner to do something with your engine if you can't tell them how you want it and how it feels when you're riding it. I remember when I was riding motocross, we went down to a bloke called Motor Johan, an old bloke, and he was the one who made the flat trot, the Mikuni. He did it for Mikuni.
For the fast What a cool name too, Motor Johan.
Yeah, he was smoking like 6 packs a day. He was coughing away like in a really old workshop. He was doing it. And he was tuning up my 50cc up to 24,000 revs, and then it exploded. I just called my dad and said, "You have to buy a new engine." This one blew up. But he went out, he didn't say, he went out to see a motocross meeting when I was riding, and he was watching me riding the bike. So when I came back, and he asked me questions about it, and I said this and that. "Oh, good, you know what you're talking about, like, so I can help you." He didn't let anyone in there to help him to do the engine. So
that's cool.
So it's important to know. I mean, you're not going to be able to work. You should know how an engine works and how it's fitted and everything. But to tune everything in that's a different thing. But you should know how it works. That's the main thing. You should not. A piston, where is it? Oh, it's that one that goes up and down. Okay, yeah.
Do you actually know what makes this thing go round?
Yeah.
It's not just to put the gas in
No, so it's part of the learning.
Yeah, it's cool. Even my kid Wilbur there, he's getting pretty into it now too. And I found something in my old files that was, or in my old boxes of stuff that I had that I don't know where I got it, but it was a little steam engine, a little play steam engine, and you basically have to put it together and add the fuel and the fire and it basically create, put the water in the thing to where it heats it up and eventually makes the engine go around. And he was so fascinated how it worked, and I was excited that he did, because at least he was looking at it. Where does that go, and where does that go? And in the end, he had this thing running and making noise, and then he understood how an engine works. How it works.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it is important, and even some of the guys that come today from the States, their fathers have done everything for them, and I keep explaining to Wilbur, you need to learn how to take the bike apart and put it together and wash it. Just understand how it works. Because like you said earlier, too, when you wash it yourself, that's when you find things. That's when you see if a frame is broken or you just pick stuff up. And later you can think of like, oh, maybe that's right. I remember there was a vibration in that last ride, and there was a nut and a bolt that was coming loose on the silencer or on the exhaust, or a frame was cracked, like you said. And then that's how you find it. And even down to changing your own tires and stuff like that. There's some riders out there today who are in their, in their late teens and early 20s, haven't even changed a tire on their bike. And if you had it like that when we started, you probably wouldn't have been riding.
No.
But looking back, I mean, today, obviously we're sitting here having a chat, and you've gone through some crazy changes in life. And you're my, like I said, between you and some of the guys, and Eric Gunderson, and you guys have transformed yourselves. You've got a new lifestyle because of your accident, what had happened, but you get so inspired because I'm sure you have some hard times, some deep deep times. Right now it's kind of rough too, because you got the issues with the bed sores that you guys are hoping that they're going to fix that for you soon, so you can be back out on the road again and being crazy like you normally are. But it's fun to listen to how inspiring you are, and listening to your stories about how you succeeded in racing and how you're succeeded in life, and how you tell your kids what they got to do today. We haven't really talked a lot about them so far, but listening to the whole ambition of how you say you have to go so deep into yourself and your body when you're trying to find the way, when you might not have somebody close by to share your information with. But for me, I find that so interesting and so fascinating. And when you listen to people around the world and dealing with people that have got problems with, whether drugs or alcohol, and if they can just find that part, understand that, you have to keep going somehow, and it must be so hard. But
but you got to find something that, either you continue or you don't. You have to find something that you want to live for. I got my kids, and I got grandkids coming on, so I'm really pleased about that. So
Grandpa.
Yeah, that feels really old, but it's well. So it's tough in many ways, but I from my experience in my earlier life before I got injured, I pick a lot of stuff from there and try to get my motivation and everything back. And
sure,
I have my ups and downs and everything, but the main thing, I'm alive, so it's
heck
life keeps going. So it's
like you worked. I think about we talk about the inspiring things. You've inspired me for years, and even though you're not riding anymore these days, the amount of phone calls, literally the amount of phone calls or messages that I used to get from you when you would watch a Grand Prix that I'd be racing in, and sometimes we were working together, like in Rospiganda too, and you would give me a call, and you would say, like, you need to straighten your arms.
Yeah.
You didn't say anything more. You just said, you need to straighten your arms. And that sticks with me today.
Yeah.
And when my bikes are working really good and I'm at my best, and I see pictures of myself, my arms are straight.
Yeah.
And that's no lie. And it took me so long to understand what you were trying to tell me. Straighten your arms, straighten my arms. But if I do that, the bike's going to stand straight up, or I'm going to do this, or I'll do that. But it's the combination of being confident in yourself to do it. Of course, the bike needs to work too. But at some point, once you learn how to straighten your arms and be confident that when you straighten your arms and you lean back,
you have to be in the right position to do it as well. So it's
exactly. But that has again, the amount of phone calls that you told me this, I don't know how many times, literally. And I think back about it, and that's why I'm so excited to sit here and talk about it, because between guys, it's you and it's Eric Gunderson, were two huge role models for me especially when I stepped to Europe, because I went out of my normal comfort zone of all the people I was around. I had Lance King my first year being in England, and then he retired and went away, and you have all your American buddies, but Eric Gunderson gave up so much for me and Billy in our first year to go live with him.
Yeah, he did.
And then I managed to become quite good friends and with you, and you shared so much information with me the first year I was in Jättingala. And then right up to today, we don't see each other as much as I always say that we should, and that's not your fault. So I'm not going to say too much right now, but you've helped me a lot. You've helped a lot of kids. You've helped the Swedish team. You've helped teams here. Do you see yourself helping kids or any more in the future, or would you be interested if that was an opportunity?
Yeah, definitely. It's like I said. When I started off, I didn't have many people tell me what to do and how to do it. Right. I had Torbjörn Harrison. He's been my inspiration all my career. He's always been there, and he's helped me a lot doing a lot of stuff. Even when he came to England, I think it was in '93 or '92. We went up to Bellevue. I couldn't get around the corners. The old, not the old one, but there's a new one now.
The one in between.
In between, yeah. And it's so tight corners, and couldn't get around the corners. And I just, what am I supposed to do? And I know Toby was up in the bar, and so I got him to call him down. I said, what am I doing wrong? And he told me, like, you do that, and you go out there. So I went out and I did it, and it worked. It's difficult, to tell. Some riders, you can tell it by words. Some riders, you have to show them on a bike. It's different things. Some learn different. And to get in that, to be able to do stuff. And it's like I always said, like, ride a wave, go up in the dirt and then find the dirt. Sometimes you have to go over it, go up on top of it instead, because there is nice and smooth. It's going to hook up. But, if you learn to do that into the corners, because the speed you have into the corners, you have it when you come out. So if you slide too much going in, you don't have any speed coming out. So, it's an easy equation to do that, but it's...
Let me tell you, it's an easy equation, but it's not as easy to do it as he's making it out.
That's what I mean. Sometimes it's, but to help others, I never, if I can help anyone, I do it. For me, the sport has given me so much. It's like I said, it's been my life all the time. I've been living it, and the way it is now, if I can give back something that I can help out with, I tell everyone that just give me a call if you need anything, or if I can help you out. I've never been asked. Money or anything doesn't exist for me, because it's, if I can help someone, I want to help someone to do it. So that's an inspiration to do it. And sometimes you see some riders just wasting so much talent that they got instead of taking care of it and do stuff. And some don't listen when you're trying to tell them. And so it's different things. But I always love Speedway. And it's like you said, I watch all the Grand Prix and everything, and I say, oh shit, why is he doing? I wish I have a phone so I can call you in the pits and say, you're doing that wrong. You should do that. Why do you do? Don't you see? Don't you have anyone watching the races see what you're doing wrong? And you're doing over and over again. And I think, oh shit, if I just could get hold of a phone, so I could speak to him, tell him what to do. Even if I'm not always right, but I can see when you're riding, and for me, it's something I just get so frustrated. And when I'm saying that, it's like when I'm looking at Toby Hansen, when he could go to like any meeting. It could be Division 1 or 2 or whatever, like low division. He could just stand screaming on the side. What is he doing? Like he's screaming straight out. And then he come into the pits and he telling the blokes like, you should do this, you should do that, you should do that. He's always there telling everyone to.
And no beating around the bush, huh?
No,
he just came and told you straight out.
Told you straight out, and that's my inspiration. That's where I got it from. And if I can help anyone, I want to. Why should I let some young boy stand there and no one gives him an advice? That's what I'm inspired by you as well. I know I had you when I was in Rospiggarna. I had a hard time to get you away. You there taking the spark plug out another bloke's bike or whatever. And then you're going out on the race. Where's Greg? Oh, he's helping that bike. But he's out in this race. You've always been like that. You're inspiration as well. That's why you're so good. You got everything. So, talk about inspiration. You got more experience than both me and Gunderson together. So it's... all the credit to you, Greg. I'm so pleased to see how you've been managed, and you're inspiration to everyone as well. I can help 46, 47 next year. Right?
I don't even know. I
stop counting.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
No, well, but I tell you what, Greg, that's the main thing is. You have to enjoy, you have to love what you're doing. It doesn't matter what it is, if it's Speedway or your work or whatever. Who wants to go to work and feel shit? I don't feel like working today.
Yeah.
But you go there and you're inspired, whatever you do. The age doesn't matter then. Because if you go there and you enjoy what you're doing, you can still do it. But when you go there and you start to think the other way, or should I really do that? Then you don't score, or you crash, or you do something else bad.
That's right.
So, yeah.
I've always said you got to surround yourself with good people, you know, and sometimes the ones that are a little bit more bright than you are. But anyway, to do it like that, and yeah, you have your days. I have my days where I think, oh man, I'm so frustrated and angry and pissed off about this and that. But usually, as soon as you get to the track and you get on the bike, it just goes away, and you just find everything.
Yeah.
Everything is okay, right?
You're on clouds.
Yeah, you're on clouds, and there's something about that that's like doesn't matter. The age doesn't mean anything,
No,
you know.
as long as you have that.
Yeah, I'm still able to do it. My body hasn't shut down on me, and I am able to be upright and breathe the air and ride my bike, you know. And those are the kind of things that keep you going. So
that's what gets me frustrated when people say, "Oh, you should quit now. You should quit now." Why should you quit? When you're enjoying it and you're doing what you love, and you're able to be there and do, scoring points and everything. So it's unbelievable.
No, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And that's what I mean, talking about helping kids in the future. And I see what Eric's doing too with...
I wish I could, though. I mean, I wanted to be able to do so many things, but with my injury and everything, it stops me, because when I did everything like I did, I mean, the injury I got is that I have to rest my back so much and to be able to sit up. So it's because if you sit on the same spot all the time, I get these sores and everything. And when I'm doing too much, and if I'm traveling too much, and the same, I'm in an electric wheelchair now. I mean, probably could sit in a normal wheelchair, but I have to have someone pushing me then. I mean, I can take me around in the apartment and stuff if it's flat and that, but outside I can't do much. I have to have someone pushing me, and I hate that. I want to do it myself. And
that's just in your...
when I got the electric wheelchair, I mean, I go in and out of my car. I even count how long time it takes to get into the car, into the wheel, put the reverse in, out of the parking space, out. So I can do it quicker next time.
Still challenging yourself.
Challenge stuff like that. And then I do stuff that I'm normally not supposed to do. But if I can help anyone, I mean, I don't even have to be at the track. I mean, I could be home, wherever. I mean, just a phone call away. If I can help anyone that needs some advice or whatever, I mean, it's... But I want to do so much stuff I'm not able to do. I want to do more than I can
right now. While we're on that subject, I mean, obviously, hopefully that this new procedure they're going to do for you is going to help out.
Yeah.
Hopefully, and that's going to give you much more added value to life again. You know, which we're fingers crossed that's going to be successful. And then the hard part, like I'm impressed that Eric has managed with his group of the kids.
Yeah.
And I use both of you guys as examples because your era in the sport is quite far back now. When you look about it, I mean, I shouldn't say far back because I was involved with you because I was from far back too, way beyond. But some of the kids today, a lot of them maybe have heard your name or whatever, but probably unless someone really tells them, explains to them who you are and what you've done and your achievements, it's hard. I mean, that's like in anything, but suddenly the kids, I see when Eric talks to the kids that are in the 250 program now, and I've seen with the ADCC, starting to look up to him, and they know who he is, they listen to him, and they believe in what he's saying. So for me, that's gold. You know, these guys, they can listen to the guys of today, it can be the Nicky Pedersens, the Nils Christian Eversens, it can be any of those guys, but the same in Sweden. I feel like it's time for... Yeah,
we need someone. I mean, take Mats Olsson, for example, when he was up in Masarna, when he got all these, I mean, Lindbäck, Sundström, Linus, there's so many riders up, the young ones comes up from the 8cc. So, but I mean, the way they started with this 250, I remember me and Mats had a training session in Norrköping. And I know some of the riders because they were riding 500, most of them. and then they were doing it all wrong and everything. They were out sliding and stuff and coming in wrong and into the corners. It's too much power on a 500. So when they went out on a 250, they made such a smooth rides in the corners, and they could get around the corners in the right way. But now you're thrown in them on a 500, and there's so much power in them that they can't handle it when they're coming in. They need to come up like a 250 to get a smoother ride, and then you build it up. It's like a big jump from 80 up to 500. So it's a good way.
That's the biggest thing, this 80cc program has developed or brought up a lot of world champions, including yourself and many. But the 250 program, I think, is a really good.
It's a good step.
It's a really good step, and now you can see even the 125 class is starting to grow. 4-stroke class is starting to grow around the world.
Yeah.
But it's still Sweden and Denmark, primarily Denmark, that are killing it with the 85 cc's. They're smoking, they're bringing up some crazy talent. So
yeah, you need someone that helps them, like Eric has been doing. And I mean, he's been doing it now for a few years. It's a big progress to get to where they are right now, but you can see that now is coming. A lot of young Danish riders coming up. So, but the most important thing is to be able for them to ride meetings, not just practice. I mean, to get in there, and the way it is now, they just swapping them out for someone else. I mean, it's like they think the grass is greener on the other side, but it's not like that. If you get an opportunity to ride more, but now these days you're coming up, and like I said, they have one meeting and a bad meeting, they just swapping out for someone else, and you got to lose to win. Like I said when I was in Rospiggen and that, I mean, keep the same team, every riders, get the confidence in, and then it start to come. It doesn't come over a night. It's a big process.
It is, and it's difficult, as we were just saying, that it's difficult these days when it's all one European Union too, and it's so easy for riders to get back and forth. But not to say they need to exclude lots and lots of riders, but me as a foreigner, they know I'm quite. I love the Swedish program, and I've seen how it was when I started to what it is to today, and there sadly there's not enough of a building point to bring everybody up from a 50cc Peewee up to the 500 class, and it would be really nice to see a little bit more structure, and that doesn't just start there or start here. I think the Allsvenskan is really important right down to your Division 1 or even your B teams, but I would really, personally myself, I'd love to see your Allsvenskan league be
all Swedish riders. Yeah, I don't understand how they done like they have done, but I mean, there's so many riders that can fit in Allsvenskan, and they shouldn't let any like foreign riders or even the top names from the elite league to go down, because it's too tough for them to. They should have someone to compete against, but should be in more level ground that they can beat each other, not just losing by half a straight or whatever. It doesn't help them.
No, and that's some of the Allsvenskan teams. You look at them, you just go, like, wow, that's an elite league team. Some of them, but
they are. And then I don't know. It's how it was before. Svimo was deciding most of the stuff. Talk about rules and everything, and everyone's complaining about Svimo and stuff. And when they got this is SSC or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Speeders.
ESS. ESS or ES
whatever.
Yeah, sure.
The clubs are deciding now what to do, and they run over Svimo about stuff. And some clubs that, I mean, even now they said that it should supposed to be 3 riders, Swedish rider or whatever, or 2, and then they can't stop them because there is no rules or
it's kind of
regulations.
Like an unwritten rule, huh?
Yeah. So it's just decided between them. But when they have all these meetings, they sit down and discuss. And I've been to these meetings, and everyone is satisfied with everything. Yeah, we should do this. And then they walk out of the door and they're thinking, how are we going to cheat the other ones? How are we supposed to do? That's how it is. It's like I mean, it's ridiculous. They don't they just burying the sport. It's instead of doing something right instead. So
I'd love to see them do one of the good things for Poland for sure is what they do with the two reserves, the number 6 and 7.
they tried it in Sweden, but they run over it.
They ran over it? When did they do it like that with the 6 and 7 reserves?
I think it's about 3 years ago or something when they said it was going to have juniors in there and they stopped it. But I think it comes down to everything. It's like in any business, everyone wants to make money or earn money, and the sponsor and everything, they're there. They want them to win all the meetings, and I think that's the main problem as well. That they don't let them to build the team because they have to win straight away, and it's like you're buying a winning team all the time to do it. It's not like it was before. You grow as you do, you start to win. That way coming up, but now you have to win all the time, and if you lose a couple of matches, they think, oh, something wrong. We have to kick that bloke. We put someone else in. Then, you have to win more or less all the time. It's
demanding.
I think it's not just Speedway, it's in other sports as well. Speedway is a small sport, so that's why we notice it so much harder.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So I think it's not only Speedway that have that problem. It's other ice hockey or whatever. If you're losing team, you're buying a better hockey player or whatever. So because you have to win to keep your sponsors and everything. So it's, a lot of things is about money. It's big pressure for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Per, we can go on.
We can go on
and we can go on. And I feel like I get to this point and each time I talk to somebody, I get so excited just to talk.
Stop.
Yeah, you can't stop. And it was like, gosh, I guess we have to save this for another podcast. And I hope that we get to do many more. Well, talking about this with the kids, I have lots of ideas and things as always,
I'm always there.
And that's awesome. And I hope that in the future, perhaps maybe you and I both can do something to help Swedish Speedway.
I would love to.
And to be a part of that. So we'll come back to this question in the near future.
They need guys like us.
Yeah, they do, right? Even if they say they don't, but they really do. We know. It's important to us. But thanks so much.
Yeah.
For giving me all this time, and it's always a pleasure, and we'll do more of it for sure. Yeah. Good luck with the future repair on the body. And
the repair,
yeah, we're gonna call it the service.
And anyone got a big ass, call me.
Yeah, Per's looking for a someone that can donate a butt. A rump or whatever you want to call it,
rumpa.
But so if you got one, listen, you can look him up on the internet. I'll give you his phone number here if you want it too. You can call in and his address, the whole deal. I'm good at that. But thanks again, Per.
Thank you, Greg.
We'll be seeing you around soon, and thanks to all you guys again for listening.
Yeah.
On the Real 45 podcast here. Remember to check us out. Follow us on Podbean, Instagram, Twitter, Acast. We're at the Real 45 podcast. So check us out. Thanks again for listening, guys. And we'll see you all really soon. See you, Per.
Bye-bye.
How does it roll? Grin to win, everybody, and keep it sideways.
Yeah.
Welcome to Real 45 with Stefan and Greg Hancock. We vibe out and have real talk, so tune in and check this out. Yeah, today is a new day. Let's seize it now and get hype. We talking about our careers, our family, and just life. Yeah, share my story with you. Inspiration like every day. Real 45, we gon' keep it live. I keep episodes on replay. Hey, Real 45. Yeah, Real 45. Show them how we do it, man. Yeah.